basically, what we're looking at on the first session is a refocus with clarity, emotional clarity, and ask yourself how you're focused on your money and whether the prevailing emotional feelings you have are positive, maybe neutral, vacillating, or maybe they're negative. Maybe they're critical feelings you have about money. And we'll get into that today. Then the next session is about money wounds. Now, you might not even be aware that, in fact, you have money wounds, but we have some tools that can help to bring that to the surface if that happens to be the case. And let's face it, most of us do have issues at some point in our lives with money. The next session is actually about happiness. And we'll go into the science of the brain and what triggers happiness in us, and try to focus in a bit more on how you can achieve more sustained happiness, particularly with regard to your money. And then the final session, Saturday, we're going to talk about responsibility, because no doubt having 100% responsibility, although it's challenging, and maybe at times it is difficult to realize, but it's essential. It's essential for personal growth, and it's essential for grabbing control of your money rather than having your money control you. So taking charge, and we'll talk in addition about some new habits and how you might be able to adopt them in a more smooth and easy way. So those are the key aspects of our masterclass. So why bother to reset your money mindset? Well, in actual fact, many of us have been preconditioned in childhood, and often our money habits come before the age of 7. Now, our parents who love us, no doubt, have given us advice and taught us certain practices about money, about saving, maybe even about earning money, and possibly in some manner of investing. However, also along with that conditioning comes certain issues, and certainly has all gotten baked into what we can say is a money attitude, which flows from a money personality. And we'll do an exercise in just a moment to help you to identify your money personality. Now, money is ubiquitous, absolutely everywhere, and it's difficult to guess how we could go through a day without interacting with our money, without paying for something, either with the cash in our pocket or maybe with our phone, or increasingly mobile banking online. And so for that reason alone, it's important to refresh and look at our relationship to money. Second, we have money is invisible, which means that much of what we do today, and increasingly so, money is not fiat money. It's not something that you can touch and feel and perhaps have the coins in your pocket, right? Increasingly, it's turning digital, and we'll have some more comments to share about that shortly. Now, awareness is key, as we alluded just a moment ago, in order to focus in on your relationship to your money. And we have characterized parts of that relationship in terms of money personality, money attitudes, money moods, and as we said a moment ago, money wounds. With this greater awareness, and we hope more visibility that comes in your current habits about money, we feel then that's building a more solid foundation for you perhaps to entertain new choices. And new choices can lead to new habits, and new habits can lead on to different results than you may be getting now. Lastly, it's very important in any reset of the mindset is to take action. It's one thing to read about it. It's something to listen to a webinar, let's say. However, if you don't take a different sort of action, guess what? The results are likely to continue to be just the same as what you're getting. And as a coach, I'm ready to assist in guidance and in insights and sharing some of my personal experiences if they're going to prove valuable to you. However, I want to underscore that this is a process of discovery for you. You need to make the discoveries. And if you're so motivated, you need to do what we call the inner work to get inside your head, or maybe your heart in some cases, right? And explore this relationship you have with money, because guess what? It's not going away, right? And from those efforts, with some guidance and maybe some exercises, we're very confident that changes will come about in your thinking about money, and that will open the gateway to taking different behavioral choices, which, as we said, will bring about different results. So we ask now, who in the house knows their money personality? And in this wheel, I suggest that there are at least 10. And in a moment, what we're going to do is we're going to break into rooms, and we're going to allow you to explore your money personality, and then we'll come back and discuss it. So, Asma?
Awesome. Yes, absolutely, Dr. Omar. So in your chat boxes, there is a screenshot that is shared. We'd encourage you to download that for you, as right now we go into a breakout room, which is basically smaller rooms of 3 to 4 people each, right? And as you can see here on the screen in front of you, there is a chart with some personality names on it. So the question is, which of these personalities do you identify with? Dr. Omar, could we go to the next slide? It has that question also laid out for the audience. So yes, that is your question. Which of the money personalities do you relate to and why? For reference, the screenshot of the wheel also has been shared with you. Please do go ahead and download so that you have that as reference during the breakout room. Isha, are we ready to go into breakout rooms?
Yes, just give me a minute.
Yep, we're back.
Okay, so I would like to pick up where we left off, and now you've had an opportunity to explore the wheel, and maybe you're curious about the different personalities. So let me introduce you to each one, but do that through the color coding. So we'll start with the high roller and the star, the pleasure seeker and the community service, which is a pink color. These are spenders. So across the personalities, there are spenders and savers, and there's also planners and no plan. So the pink shows up as a spender that has a plan. So the star and the high roller, you can understand, uses their money according to a plan, which is essentially to be flashy. Now, the spendthrift and the innocent idealist, which is the deep red, are also spenders, but you know what? They don't have a plan. And certainly they don't have a plan for saving. And many of them, they're just reactive to money circumstances. Now, by contrast, the green is meant to show the savers, and again, whether they have a plan or perhaps a slight plan. So the light green, which is the base saver and the guardian, they're savers, but they have a small plan, or they save, let's say, from time to time. Whereas the deep green are the savers that are following a dedicated plan and one that they update on a regular basis. So that's the builder, and of course, the philanthropist, who typically has much more money than some of the other money personalities, and therefore is in a position to be more generous. So I hope that's clear. If there are any questions, now you can put it in the chat. This is not permanent, and it is not definitive. And when I've played with the game with other people, I found that some people want to have more than one personality. They say, well, I'm a builder, but I'm also a little bit community service. And that's all fine. This is a simple game to open you up to an awareness. So, okay. You were blocking that. All right. So this moves on now to the idea of emotional clarity about our money, which is one of the results we want to come to from playing such games and opening up this awareness. The first thing to comment is that money itself is lifeless. It's paper, and increasingly, as we've said, is becoming virtual and digital. But essentially, we add the emotion to the money. The money doesn't give us emotion. In fact, many of us have grown up, certainly speaking for myself, that money has to come after hard work. But in actual fact, that's again a value that we put on the money. And maybe some of you who have looked into this whole subject, you're aware that it's possible to attract money into your life. And once it starts flowing, maybe it's a royalty payment, or you've invented something, or you're an investor in a business and other people are doing the work, and it flows to you. Well, we'll talk about that in a minute. Then that's about circulation of money. So, three key ideas to take away. The first is that money is dumb, that we add the value, as I said, and we also direct our money. We make the choices. Now, sadly, if somebody gets a bit over their head, let's say in debt, then the pressure of the debt service can seem like the money is in control, right? But those are decisions that we made in the past, and some of them can be undone. But money is basically just a medium of exchange. And from some points of view, it's not even a storehouse of value. But what money buys is a storehouse of value, like your home or jewelry or commodities. So it's not the money. The money is a yardstick. Number two, many of us have an emotional view that money is scarce. And I have written more about this. A lot of this, I believe, comes from the capitalist system, which is that never enough, and whatever we have to buy new, and so on. And what this creates is a sense that money is scarce. But keep in mind, that's an emotion and a set of values we're putting on our money, and therefore subject to change. And where we want to end up is a notion that money is in fact abundant and that money flows. Now, maybe at the moment it may not be flowing in your direction, although we hope as a result of this masterclass, we can adjust that with you and for you. But the notion is that it's a river, and like a river, it has two directions to the current. There's upriver and downriver. And if anyone has visited a river that has a current, you well know that you want to be on the downstream. You want to so-called go with the flow. So I hope that's clear. Now, the next slide goes deeper into the whole notion of abundance thinking. And to keep in mind that the mind, all of us have a paradigm, which is a framework of how we see our world. And this paradigm is an accretion of all of our experiences, the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful, etc. Essentially, it breaks into two areas. One is a growth mindset and one is a fixed mindset. So with that as a framework, let's go into abundance thinking. So I leave this. No, let's leave the meeting. That's not right.
Okay, hold on. So I am going to go ahead and play the abundance mindset for everybody here. Okay, and here we go.
Yeah.
So what is abundance? Well, sometimes it's easier to talk about this concept if we begin with its opposite, scarcity thinking. By scarcity thinking, one believes you don't have enough. There's never enough for you or anyone else. Only
We've lost the sound.
one says reality is just that way, and there's nothing I can do about it. So why take risks? Why strive? A scarcity thinker simply waits for change or luck. Quite often, such people may be unhappy, struggling, feeling alone, or even depressed. By contrast, abundance thinking believes there's plenty and enough to spread for everyone. By contrast, abundance thinking believes in bounty, a natural superabundance and accessibility by all, usually associated with positive thinking, positive feelings, being upbeat, and an optimistic outlook, and the daily striving forward. This mindset focuses on can do rather than cannot do. Of course, obstacles and challenges still arise, yet the abundance thinker possesses personal creativity, self-confidence, and is constantly learning to solve problems or turn them into opportunities. Life by default thinking allows life to happen to me. Life by design thinking, where I can be proactive and I can program my life.
So with that, we go into abundance thinking. Dr. Omar, back to you with the presenter view.
Okay, are we on?
Yes.
Great. So I hope that was informative and an opportunity to compare and contrast in a very brief few minutes, scarcity thinking and abundance thinking. So how do we develop abundance mindset? Here are some suggestions. First off, focus on the inner world and the inner work that needs to take place, and seek out experiences which result in personal satisfaction. And if things are really tough right at the moment, then put your mind back to when things were easier and you were able to achieve and maybe celebrate small things, large things, it doesn't really matter. What we're trying to get at is to trigger certain feelings and a positive attitude about yourself and about your relationship with money. Number two, reduce exposure to social media and negative news. And let's face it, that negative Nancy is out there in spades all over the place with a lot of scandals and things that are not going right. So if you tone that down, it's going to be easier for you then to be open to positive experiences and positive feelings. Number 3 is remove the clutter. Now, one way to start your day in an energizing manner is I would recommend that you look into Robin Sharma or maybe Tony Robbins. They both have on the internet free webinars about how they start their day. And essentially, it's called the Hour of Power, 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes. And I'll let you look into that if you're curious. But the notion is how you start your day often is how you can carry your sense through the entire day to take on the challenges and up-level the successes. Third, adopt a beginner's mindset. Now, this is a Zen idea, but be open to learning about new circumstances. And if you see something, try to see something for the first time, whether you're walking and you see a flower or possibly a colleague of yours is coming to you with a new hairdo or whatever it may be, small or large. Look at it for the first time with appreciation. Number 3, exceed expectations. What this means is when you're committed to something, whether it's at work or the family or broader relations, find ways and means to give more. It not only helps others, but you'll be surprised how positive feelings well up inside. And lastly, listen to your self-talk. We all have that voice in the head, and often the self-talk might be negative, might be focused on self-criticism. When that occurs, my recommendation is say to yourself loudly, but inside, next. So you don't focus on the negative thought. They're going to come up always, right? Many of us want to have self-improvement. That's also very fine. But if a negative thought comes up, oh, I can't do this, or really, I shouldn't try that, just say next and move ahead. And lastly, and this is good at all times, is start with gratitude. Gratitude for who you are, all the bad things or the less good things that may have happened to you in the past. Try not to dwell on them because you know what? It created the who that you are today. So we're wrapping up, and we have a suggestion along the lines of playing games and working on the curiosity around your relationship to money. So those that are interested, completely voluntary, we would suggest that you consider a group project. And a group project, or could be done singly, a group project would be 2 or 3 of you would agree to work together. And we'll show you this. These are the financial terms and instruments. These are ideas for you in the group to think about, research, maybe become more familiar with, perhaps for the first time. And then on Saturday, between now and Saturday, you do this investigation and discussion. On Saturday, we'll select some of the teams, and they will make a presentation to the larger group of all of us about what they found. And that means that somebody might select, for example, a Bitcoin as a topic. What's the definition? Where is it? What can you do with it? Some of the advantages, the disadvantages. And then the idea is that the group would make a 3-minute presentation back to the larger group so we can learn from each other. So I'll stop there and throw it back to Asma and see if there are any questions from the larger group, whether you like this idea, you think it's not something you would like to participate in, that's also fine. Asma?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Omar. So we have Enthusiasts saying me in the chat box. It's amazing. Anybody else up to join this? We'll of course send you more details on this and brief you on it. But the idea is to pick up a financial instrument, do some research around that as a group, and also when you do it as a group, there's a lot of exchange of ideas as well. So let's just give it 1 or 2 minutes for people thinking through as well. If you're
I would just like to add,
yeah.
Sorry, I'd just like to add, when we talk about the group presentation as the instructions, and you get a copy of this to think about, it could be a short video, it could be an oral presentation, could be slides, could be a paper, could be a poem, whatever moves you. But the idea is to take your learning, compress it in the top 3 or 4 items related to the term or the instrument that you select, and then share that back to the group. I think it's going to be fun.
Totally. We have around 7 or 8 people, and yeah, people are coming in.
If you're on the fence, remember the answer is yes. Just saying. So we'll just wait a minute there. Yes, so we'll post the session. We'll of course do the groups, but Diane, absolutely, you, Shireen and Shaima could be one group.
Yes.
So Maxine, Shayan, Irene, Lark, you know, the 4 of you can be one group as well. Let's just wait for the others, and we'll make sure to follow it up with an email with all the details. Okay, then I guess we have our presenters. Thank you so much. We have a bonus 10-minute Q&A session after this for anybody who has questions where you can ask Dr. Omar directly. But before we go into the question answer session, we'd like to take a quick minute to take pictures, GLEAC style, to make sure everybody is present and whoever is dropping off at 7 o'clock is also included in the pictures. So could we all turn on our cameras for a picture as a memory for this day 1 of the mentor.
Should I stop sharing?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
How do I stop sharing? Oh, up top. I keep forgetting. It's up top. Okay.
No problem.
Yeah, how's that? Back to you, Esha.
Yes, let's everybody get on camera so that we're all captured. We see a lot of.
I see some big smiles.
Yay. Wonderful.
Wonderful. Terry, Bobby, Pankaj, Naren, Irene, Ghazal, Aisha, Diksha, Travis. We have some shy folks as well. Okay, very quickly then. So we always take pictures where we send out flying kisses. So on the count of 3, you blow out a flying kiss. Right? Are we ready?
Yeah.
3,
Yay.
2, 1, go. So yeah, keep that going.
Oh, we got to give more than one? Okay.
Yes, the more the merrier. Yeah, that's call it
More the merrier, yes.
Exceed the expectations.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much for that. Again, quick reminders, please share your thoughts on the Trustpilot link. We'll share it again. And buy Dr. Omar a cup of coffee and each other a cup of coffee by contributing as less as $5 on the link. The floor is now open to questions. You can all go ahead and shoot your questions one by one. You could also drop it in the chat and Dr. Omar would answer it for you right away. So who has the first question? We have Lark, who's asked, want to figure out startup equity. Anyone else wants to dig on this? So Yeah, that's a question for the group luck. We'll wait for somebody to answer that. Anybody has questions for Dr. Omar? Yes, Abhineet, please go ahead.
Yes, yeah.
Dr. Omar, hi. This is Abhineet. Interestingly, you alluded to something that you called as money wounds. And I think all of us have scars, depending upon how many years we have behind us. Scars of different nature, coming on from how we've interacted with money in our lives. Would you be taking that up in a little bit more detail in one of your subsequent sessions? That would be very interesting.
Yes.
And the remedies therein as well.
Correct.
In terms of identification of the wounds and how do you deal with some of those experiences that we may have had in our past.
Right. Thank you for the question, Apal. And visit us on Thursday, the 29th, because the second session is starting with and largely dedicated to recalling the money wounds and then recognizing them. And then, as we say, God willing, finding a way to heal them.
Thank you very much. Glad to hear that.
We had questions around money personality earlier. If anybody wants to go into that now, we'd be happy to share the money personality wheel again. I remember David also had a question on savers, spenders, and investors. So just raise your hand if you'd like to listen a little more on that, and we share more on that as well.
Asma, I have a question. Asma?
Yeah, sure, Maxine, go ahead.
Yes, to Dr. Omar. Dr. Omar, is a split personality, a split money personality real? Or is it that we have one only? Or do we have a dominant one? Kind of a two-part, three-part question.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, of course, first of all, it's individual. So some people may have a dominant, like being a spendthrift or being a builder. As I said, I've done this game with cards with many, maybe 100 or more people. And my finding so far is that people don't particularly like to choose a single personality. They say, well, I'm a little of this and a little of that. And I've had as many as 3 or 4 of these icons selected, which is all fine. As Asma mentioned, there's no one right answer. The idea behind this is to have some fun, but really to begin to stimulate an area about your relationship to money that deserves attention and may not be getting it. And so if you realize that you are, for example, a spendthrift or a pleasure seeker, right? And you would like to become a base saver or a guardian or eventually a builder. And this is not a linear progression, mind you. People are too complex for that. But there is a learning journey.
Okay.
And in the business I founded, Conscious Wealth, we have charted out that learning journey with different educational resources, some printed, some games, some video, and we're looking to bring that very soon to the marketplace.
Thank you. I am intrigued by the money personality. I'd never thought of that concept before. Yeah.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
Which one did you select, if I could be so bold?
So of course, I am one of those split base saver and community service.
Okay, great, great. Well, maybe you want to explore becoming a builder,
Mm-hmm.
or possibly a guardian. which means that you have more of a plan to your money.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Feel free to drop it in the chat or just shoot it right across. I have a question in the chat. What is the most successful personality according to you?
The most successful money personality, not human personality, right?
Mm.
Everything is in context with money here today.
Yeah. Well, from my reflections and in building the game, the answer to the question would be the builder. And what distinguishes a builder is that a builder is a saver. And what we understand when we get into this a bit deeper is that you can't become an investor unless you have savings. And savings is your disposable income, usually on a monthly basis or biweekly basis or what have you, the disposable income which is left over after the person has met all her expenses of the month. And of course, if you have the circumstance where you're spending more than your income, this is not desirable and in fact not sustainable for a long period of time. That's where debts come in. Unless, of course, there's some emergency and that's a temporary situation. So you want to have your expenses to be lower than your income, and that gap ends up possibly going to savings, right? And then from the savings, you can then entertain different kinds of investment instruments, some of which we'll explore on Saturday.
We have Abhineet who has raised his hand again. Abhineet, go ahead with your question.
Right. So it's not a question, but I think one of the thoughts that did get triggered at my end when I look at the money personality wheel is on the community service or the philanthropy side. A lot of us do think about this from time to time. But like you said, Dr. Omar, there is a difference between thinking about it and doing something about it.
Yes.
Right. And thank you for triggering that thought. So I wanted to leave you with a thank you. I will definitely try and do something on that side.
Yeah, well, what I would perhaps suggest you think about is create a saving, and a helpful tool is a separate account.
Sure.
Many of us have a single bank account into which the income goes, but I find it more helpful if you have a separate account, maybe at the same bank or some other place at a credit union, where you put your savings, keep it a little bit away from, the ongoing expenditures. And then from the savings, you'll be able to visually see what is, accumulating and how much of that you can put to community service, you can put to charitable donations, you can put into supporting orphans or, whatever cause you'd like to support. And another portion is available then for investing, which builds, we hope, a much brighter future.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Omar.
That actually brings us to our next question from Zohaib. Has asked, how do you determine what is acceptable saving ratio to your money earned?
That's an excellent question. And I see that Sanjeev has come with one answer, which is 20% of earnings. Actually, acceptable is up to you. It's up to you, okay? There is, as we like to say, a rule of thumb, which means that many successful people save 5% a month. If you can save 10% a month, that's obviously twice as good, right? And somebody who is disciplined enough and maybe has focused more on needs than wants, and therefore has reduced spending, they may be able to get up to 20, 25% of income to save it. And of course, start early, because the whole concept is the money in saving and the money in investing. You want it to grow, and it takes time to grow, unless somebody wins the lottery, but that's not a long-term strategy.
Mhm. Awesome. A quick reminder as well, day 2 is happening on Thursday, the 29th of July, starting at the same time, 6 p.m. GST and 7:30 p.m. IST, but we have a lot more time zones here. So we leave it to the experts on this. So any other questions here as we wrap up? We have the last 1.5 minutes to go.
Asma, if you, through you to Dr. Omar, if you can just re-explain the Guardian for me, please.
Sure.
I got the builder, I didn't get the Guardian.
Okay, the Guardian, the idea there is the green eye shade focused on watching the money, but not necessarily growing the money.
But the builder grows, okay. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Another question coming up from Zohaib. What are your thoughts on using financial apps that use round up your purchase and puts into ISA?
Right. It's also called like spare change apps. I think that's helpful. Let's face it, we all these days, with the commotion and the distractions, it's difficult sometimes to discipline. And indeed, that's part of my goal with the masterclass, is to encourage you to, again, look at your relationship with money, see where there are changes that are possible, and then encourage you to go about making those changes so that ultimately you can up-level your discipline around the money in terms of spending, saving, investing, donations, all the different money functions, so that you can feel more comfortable with the financial decisions that you're making. And those apps that can help, but it's maybe not a full substitute for willpower according to your goals, reaching toward financial freedom. Yeah, Sarah, I would agree. They put a lot of time and energy into the YNAP, which has to do with personal budgeting.
I have got a question from Aisha. She says she's confused about Bitcoins. Aisha, if you can unmute yourself and elaborate on your question.
I don't understand what Bitcoin is. So I just want to know a little more about it, and if it's really a good thing or a really bad thing. You know, I don't know anything about it. Dr. Fisher, if you could just tell me something about Bitcoin.
Sure. Well, that's part of the reason we put it in the group project list. Is there's a lot of confusion, let's say, about Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. And there's also a difference between those and digital money. And I write about that in this forthcoming book called Conscious Wealth. But in a nutshell, what I would say is that Bitcoin has a mysterious origin. It is a form of a digital coin, which means it's invisible. It lives on the blockchain, and it is being traded between speculators precisely because there's a limited supply and a perception of value. And that's important, a perception, because the Bitcoin doesn't do anything. And I would just caution that if you want to invest in Bitcoin or even some of the other, there's 1,800 cryptocurrencies now. In fact, there was an extra 600 in the last 5 years created, and that 600 went bankrupt, disappeared, mismanaged or embezzlement. A whole bunch of things have happened to 600. So there was 2,400 launched and 1,800 roughly still exist. But the top ones, you can punch it up in Mr. Google. There's 10, let's say, and they have different characteristics, which if you like, we can explore more on Saturday when the group comes to talk about Bitcoin. But I hope that's a starter.
I think it's a kind of a deterioration of money from gold to paper to plastic and now to crypto, right? And poof, it's all gone. Finally, the whole thing collapses.
Well,
doesn't that seem like it?
Yeah, well, I hope there's no poof, but what I would say is that we are losing our control, our individual personal control over money. Because keep in mind that the digital money that's issued by someone else, and it could be the central bank. I mean, some of the central banks in Singapore and Sweden and China and other places, the EU and possibly not too far in the future, the United States, are going to issue a digital coin to replace, as you suggested, Esha, the paper money because it's cheaper for them. However, there's a big difference. And I'll leave you with this thought as we wrap up. If you have a paper money in your pocket, who owns it?
Me.
That's right. You own it. And actually, if it's in your pocket, no one else sees what you have. Now, if it's a digital coin, where is it and who owns it?
On the clouds.
It's on the cloud. And actually, although your name is attached to it, you don't control it. And there's a huge difference that all of us need to think about, because your bank account could be closed. And then there's nothing in your pocket and it's in an e-wallet. And I don't mean to frighten anyone, but there's a lot that we don't know yet about cryptocurrencies and the cashless society. And that's part of the reason that I'm doing these workshops and doing my continuing research and reaching out to a younger generation, because that's going to be a central part of their reality for many years to come.
But that's what happened with plastic money, right? The cards. I mean, a lot of people just used their cards and just disappeared and things like that happened, right?
Well, yes, when money is no longer weighing in your pocket like paper or coin, and it's on a plastic card, we've seen one of the sad consequences is people overspend. And of course, the banks and some of the financial institutions want us to use the card because of the fees, including some of the penalties for not paying on time, et cetera, et cetera. That's part of the, I alluded to earlier, the capitalist system. But ultimately, it's up to us. How many cards we have, how we use the card, whether we pay on time, that's our behavior. We can't blame the card issuer or the bank. But it needs education, and that's what we're sharing through the masterclass.
Thank you very much, Doctor.
Asma?
Yes, thank you so much. We've had a 20-minute, very fruitful Q&A session. Please make sure to tune in on Thursday. You have calendar invites in your inbox with the Zoom link. Dr. Omar's website is also in the Zoom chat. You could feel free to reach out to him on LinkedIn, connect with him one-on-one. He offers coaching services. We have a lot of mentors in the community who are offering their services. If you are a GLEAC mentor and want to offer workshop services, please reach out to us. We're going to be doing a lot more of this. And there's a lot to get and give through the GLEAC Mentor Community. So on that note, thank you so much from everybody here at GLEAC, and I guess from Conscious Wealth as well. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Bye-bye.
Peace and blessings.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.